Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here from Job Studios. It is your host, Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, A5, Anthony behind the glass. It is a football Friday. Thank goodness we've made it. We got started last night, which is very exciting. The game delivered a little bit more than what we thought it was gonna. I know a lot of people were on the side of thinking there was going to be no action, meaning the under.
Yeah, once I saw 20-mile-per-hour winds and I looked at the data on the under in Cleveland, I went on the under.
So, yeah, well, you know what? It wasn't even our fault. But imagine if that last play of the game was the reason why things hit the over. And it wasn't, thank goodness.
A couple of bad beats.
I would have lost a couple holes in my house.
Night. Bad beats yesterday across the board.
Yeah, so in any event, it is a football Friday. We'll get into the game. And, of course, because of the game, there are some top movers. The market is exactly what it is, and it's moving. So on the bottom of your screen right now, if you're watching us here on YouTube, be sure to just keep your eye on that, because we're just going to talk about a couple of the guys that, you know, made some impacts last night, obviously pushed the needle, we had some electrifying plays, you know, so it's not everybody this time around. So we have to start, listen, we understand that the Browns won the game and there was a lot of offense, and we'll get to all of those guys. Unfortunately for the Steelers, they drop another game. That stinks. You know what I mean? Mitch Trubisky was subpar.
He looked really good in the first half.
He was threading a couple.
He looked really good on that final drive to burn my under. But other than that, Mitch Trubisky's the same Mitch Trubisky. And there was a point in the game yesterday where Kenny Pickett's stock started to dip a little bit, but then the second half came, and then it was right back up, because we all know that it's a matter of time.
The highlight for the Pittsburgh Steelers last night was a catch and the catch, and it comes from a guy named George Pickens. We talked about him yesterday a little bit. We talked about getting in on him now because of the fact that he was relatively low. Obviously, as you see on your screen, that there was a significant spike when he made the catch. Now, I got to ask you, Chris, better than Odell? No,
not better than Odell.
Why?
Odell was a touchdown catch. It was against the Cowboys.
All right, first of all.
And it was the same catch, only it had a bigger impact. Rivalry game. Not that this wasn't, but Cowboys-Giants is a bigger rivalry to me than the Steelers and the Browns.
Can we also talk about the common denominator here? Both of them caught that L. That's true.
Indeed.
Giants lost that game, and the Steelers lost this one. But maybe this puts them on the Madden cover next year. You know, this is exactly what happened to Odell, and then it went all downhill from there because everybody. Well, listen, no taking any skill from Odell Beckham, but I think his head just decided to go up in stock price as well.
Shout out to the internet for coming through again with the NFL YoungBoy meme, and it was George Pickens watching George Pickens catch. That pass with three fingers.
Incredible. Listen, great catch. 3 catches for 39 yards. He averaged 13 yards a catch because of that bomb that he caught. But the biggest thing is he was tied for second on his team with receptions, but second on the team in targets. So that's a big deal going forward, because it looks like no matter who's under center, right now Mitch is starting to find a groove with him, but once Kenny gets in there, I feel like this kid's going to eat a little bit more and more.
I feel like, it's a matter of time. You saw the way he was behaving on the sideline, and it was very reminiscent of a Terrell Owens, a young T.O., but a little bit sooner. You know, T.O., he had to have that catch. Owens! And then all of a sudden he became this brash guy. NFL YoungBoy is here. He made an impact right away. He talked his way into the situation over there in Pittsburgh. He said he was open every play, and guess what? I believe him now. I mean,
now he's there. And look, there was a couple passes where, you know, ill-advised, and the targets just didn't find his hands. But again, we were worried, or not worried, but at least talking about the fact that that room was crowded. It seemed like he took a step forward last night. So if you want to get in on George Pickens, I know a couple people that did last night based off of more multipliers that the Mojo app was giving out yesterday.
George Pickens is everything the Steelers fans wish Chase Claypool would be. That's my belief.
Oh.
I think Chase Claypool has the ability and the size and the talent to just be a monster out there, but he doesn't play with the same intensity that an NFL YoungBoy does. And that's the
You were just labeling him NFL YoungBoy.
I mean, it's a given at this point.
All right.
I thank my boy Bailey for that one.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right, moving on to the winning side of football. We're here to talk about another guy that was absolutely fed last night. He feasted. He had dinner. He had appetizers. He had dessert. He had it all. David Njoku goes absolutely ham last night. 9 catches on 10 targets for 89 yards and a touchdown. I've been kind of banging on the table for this guy for a long time. The problem is his health, right? He can never stay healthy. He always had like a shoulder or a hamstring or a quad.
It was week 2, I think 2 years ago, and Jamal Adams ended his season on one hit, like concussion, broken wrist.
Yeah, and it was just a mess. He's been on the wrong side of health for the last, I don't know, a couple
2 or 3
years.
years. Yeah, he hasn't really gotten a crack
now
based on health.
Now he's getting a little bit more attention from Jacoby Brissett. And just imagine what a guy like Deshaun Watson, personal stuff aside, Deshaun Watson's a talented quarterback, and he's going to want a tight end that can catch the ball and run after the catch and go over the middle with no fear whatsoever. This guy, he ate last night, and it's a promising future for a guy like David Njoku if he stays on the field.
If he could stay on the field, of course. But my thing here is the Cleveland Browns offensive line, the Cleveland Browns rushing attack. They got everybody involved in the running game. And really, who would have thought Cleveland, with no Deshaun Watson, would be 2-1 and really just a botched onside kick and 1:30 in the Jets game, where they're a play away from being 3-0 right now.
I know.
Jacoby
and then
Brissett.
All of a sudden, when Watson,
Jacoby Brissett,
are we a question mark?
Are we doing that?
Yeah,
right
are we in on Jacoby Brissett right now? But like, look, and of course, it's not like they have an owner that would spark any conversation about it. Like, like I don't know, Jerry Jones saying yesterday that there would be a competition. Like, okay, everybody calm down. Jacoby Brissett is there as a placeholder until their $800 million quarterback Deshaun Watson gets back on the field. Moving on, sticking with the Browns, another guy that kind of solidified his role. You're wondering how much of the splits he's going to get, but a Nick Chubb absolutely runs like a bat out of hell last night. He absolutely crushed it. 23 carries to just 12 for Hunt. So
that's
he's doubling his
standard.
carries.
That's
that is
what
standard.
It was through week 1 and 2. And you're going to see that consistently.
Yeah, 113 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. I mean, there's not much you could say about Nick Chubb. Not much negative you could say about Nick Chubb. That dude is a hard-nosed runner. Of course, they go back and they show him squatting all that weight again. He's like, and Al Michaels being his fun self. I've never seen a bar bent like that.
Something like that would make someone's stock go up, because I feel like squatting 700 pounds can't be good.
It's got to be counterproductive. Yeah,
can't be good.
Listen, I can't say that I do a lot of legs, but I can't say I would ever do that.
Who am I to
either.
decide what Nick Chubb should be doing? I think he's got like 1,500 rush yards a year every year. So yeah, keep squatting.
Very consistent, and there's the spike there on the app when he scored that touchdown, and then it falls off. To me, I've watched the market a little bit last night, and I saw how things move. As things just go, it does spike, and then it just kind of drifts off, but status quo, as long as he doesn't fumble or anything like that. You know what I mean? I tell you what I did do. I did go short on Mitch, and it worked out a little bit, but he was threading him in there a little bit. So he had himself a decent game. But again, it is what
first
it is.
half.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
It was a decent first half. The Browns went out there, made their adjustments, and they did their thing. So those are your top movers. And obviously, throughout the entire show, you'll see the scroll on the bottom of your screen showing you the entire slate of top movers that are happening right now on the Mojo Market Report. But look, it's Football Friday, okay? There are many shows that pick games that go through the whole entire slate, and they want to, this one with this spread, this one with this. On this show in particular, myself and Chris will be choosing 4 to 5 games a week that we think are going to at least steal some headlines, and of course, players within the Mojo Market Report can make some moves, right?
Yeah, so basically the top stories heading into the weekend and how we think it applies to the Mojo Market.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with game 1, right? Let's start with game 1. It's the Jets and the Bengals, ladies and gentlemen. So they're going to be starting off. Obviously, the Jets coming off the miraculous win, right? The Bengals can't seem to get anything going right now. So when you look at the market with this team's players to watch, at least, guys that are intriguing, obviously, you got your Joe Burrows. He's doing his thing, right? We know what Joe Burrow is. We also know what Jamar Chase is. But the guys you want to pay attention to are that Jets running backs, the Jets receivers. Which guys are going to be featured? And when you look at this, Chris, Elijah Moore seems to be the one that hasn't gotten the targets that you would think he would get. Does he get fed in this game in particular? Joe Flacco, again, he's starting this Sunday. So what do you think about a guy like Elijah Moore today?
I'm a little bit cold on the Jets pass catchers this week because of the hype going into it. The Cincinnati Bengals are desperate for a win. They're 0-2, defending AFC champions, and they really need to get off the schneid here. The Jets beat them last year with the Mike White at starting quarterback.
Mike White
stunned them, and then the Bengals really just turned it up after that game, and they played really well down the stretch. I think they beat the Chiefs on the road after losing to the Jets. So tale of two seasons, or tale of two teams really, week by week. We need the Bengals to come around here and start stop turning the ball over, because that's really the main issue with Cincinnati up to this point.
And protecting Joe Burrow.
And
he's getting rocked around.
Joe Burrow, correct. So I'm waiting on Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins.
You combine two guys.
I combine them, but really, that pass attack hasn't really got going yet, and it's largely due to the fact that they haven't been able to protect the football.
We have not seen a chase game yet, like a typical go out there, catch 10 balls for like $160. It hasn't happened.
Yeah,
you know?
The Jets' defense has been pretty solid so far, but they haven't had a test like they're about to face with the Bengals offense. The Browns, even though they've been playing well offensively, and they really showed it yesterday, they also haven't gotten it. It's week 3, so I need to see more. But the Jets, this is going to be the biggest test. The Bengals are desperate. They have revenge on their minds. As far as the Jets' offense goes, it's still Joe Flacco. We're 1 week removed from talking about how we need Mike White. If Joe Flacco finishes this game as a starter, then the Jets have no chance. And guess what? Joe Flacco finished the game, and he gave them every chance. Granted, the Browns botched it, but Joe Flacco, he's still that same guy that we wanted out last week. They were down 2 touchdowns with a minute to go. That was the same Joe Flacco that quarterbacked that game. The Jets offense needs more than what they're going to get from Joe Flacco. But lucky for Jets fans, this apparently is the final week that we're going to see Zach Wilson on the sideline. He might be coming back for week 4. So I think we're going to get to see the regular Joe Flacco that we all grew to love for the last 5 years. A little inadequate behind center.
Well, we will be present at that tailgate. So if you're a Jets fan out there and you're watching this right now, look for the Mojo people. You can see Chris is decked out in all that gear. So look for all of that. So you can look for us out there tailgating and having some fun with the Mojo Market app and mojo.com and everything that we're doing over here at Mojo will be on display on Sunday early. So around like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So another early riser for the crew over here. All right, let's move on. We got the Dolphins and the Bills, a very intriguing AFC matchup, AFC East matchup. And, of course, the Dolphins are coming off that absolute high of a game, considering they were dead in the water, no pun intended for Dolphins, but they were dead in the water, and they look to be out, completely done. And you look at this, and you look at Tua Tagovailoa. Yep, got it. And his stock went through the roof, and I got involved a little too late. Obviously, I bought after the big game, so now I'm expecting him to continue this trend. So you look at that. You look at a guy, now, flip side of the coin, you know what you're getting out of Josh Allen. So if you want to do a long-term play, he is your Amazon of these stocks. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to dip. You're never going to lose money.
You'll dip. I mean, there's
a little bit, but
potential, but yeah, I'm feeling like Josh Allen at this point is a safe investment.
Yeah, my biggest question is the health of Gabe Davis. Is he back in this?
Gabe Davis is looking like he's going to give it a go this weekend, get the Bills back at full strength. We haven't gotten to see the Bills get tested yet, and Miami has been tested. They played the Ravens last week, and they had to battle back. But this right here is the true test. The AFC East, they get a home game against the Super Bowl favorites in the league right now. Tua just wins football games. But this this Buffalo pass rush and the defense has been playing lights out. They haven't had to really compete, and the game script has allowed them to kind of peel their ears back in the second half. I'm not sure how Miami's offensive line is going to hold up if they have to play catch-up against a team like Buffalo the way they've been rolling right now. On the flip side of things, like I said, Buffalo hasn't been in a tight game yet. The game script has allowed them to really not have to pass the ball as much as you thought they would going into the year, because second half, it's just hand it off. And while none of the running backs have managed to take the lead, they're all kind of ripping off chunk yards, and no guy is the one guy. But if an injury takes place, then I'm all in on whatever Buffalo back is remaining. But for now, I'm cold on all the backs. But those pass catchers on both sides of the ball, I say in terms of preference, you can't go wrong between Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Invest and have some fun watching those guys. And on the flip side, same thing. You could invest in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and really just have fun. Because I feel like that's a tandem. It's going to be an every week thing, yeah. If you look at a guy like Tyreek Hill, it feels like he just walks around with this confidence. Like, it doesn't matter where he's going to go. It doesn't matter who's covering him. He has the ability to blow the defense apart, right? And he has year in, year out. And Jalen Waddle looks to be very, very similar, almost more skilled as a route runner, which is crazy to say because Tyreek Hill brings so much to the table.
So basically, when we're looking at this game, you also something you didn't bring up was whatchamacallit, Dawson Knox or Mike Gesicki. You're talking about these pass catchers. I want to give a little love to the tight ends here because I think that both of these guys, I mean, you saw Gesicki do his thing last week. We haven't seen the Knox that we saw last year, so I feel like this is just the right time to step up a little bit.
Well, yeah, game script hasn't allowed for it because in the second half, they haven't really been throwing all that much. So that's first. Second, I just think across the league, the tight end usage is down a little bit through the first 2 weeks. Last year, there was a lot of breakout guys, Knox being one of them, Dalton Schultz being another. There was several people that entered the mix as a viable option in I guess you could say fantasy for this regard. But just tight ends have been down a little bit. Both of these tight ends have been down a little bit, but they're probably going to get it going. I think that Dawson Knox has a little more of the ability to get it going. He's younger. They just signed him to a long-term deal. Gesicki might be on his way out a little bit as a pass catcher, but he's still a consummate pro. I'm not in on Gesicki, but I would kick the tires on a Dawson Knox for sure.
Okay.
Any Buffalo Bill pass catcher.
It's just so funny. It's like both of these teams, like as a whole, it's like you're all in on all the pass catchers, and then you're all out on every single running back.
I also want to rephrase that. Not all of the pass catchers. The Crowders, the Isaiah McKenzie's. This Buffalo Bills team is so established in who's the guys to go to.
True.
Barring injury, you're not going to get much more than a little bit of splash here or there. It's going to be the Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis show with a little bit of Dawson Knox in the red zone, and that's going to be it.
Sounds like a plan. All right, moving on. You were talking about Tyreek Hill before. His former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, will be taking on the Colts. Now, look, this game's intriguing because we're really going to get a test to see where the Colts are at. Now, I understand people are low on the Colts right now, but if they come out here and they come out flat, it's going to be a big deal. And when you take a look at the market with guys that they have, we have not seen a Jonathan Taylor game yet. We have not seen anything out of Alec Pierce, and he's very, very cheap. He's $6.82 a share. Michael Pittman, he's up a little bit. Now, there was, issues with getting him the ball. So it's going to be interesting. Flip side of that coin, you look over at the Chiefs, and it's just like, it's the who's who. You know exactly who you're investing in. You got your Mahomes, you got your Kelseys. The one guy I want to say who actually popped up on that graphic, are we going to get a little bit more of the juju? Or what are we going to get out of this game? The Colts are in desperate need to win this game, man. You do not want to start that way, not in that division. And all of a sudden, the team we're going to be talking about a little bit, the Jaguars, might look like the best team in the AFC South. It's insane to me. 3 weeks in, and I refuse to write teams off, but like the Colts, they got to get it going, Chris. They absolutely have to get it going.
Yeah, they very similar to the Bengals, even though they weren't a playoff team last year, the Colts, they were pegged as one of the teams going into this year as one of the most complete rosters. They made the addition of adding Matt Ryan to try and shore things up behind center. It hasn't really worked out for them through 2 games. They're not running the ball enough as far as I see it. I think that you have Jonathan Taylor, the clear number 1 running back in football going into the season, and only giving him the ball maybe 1/3 of the time. And that's not even him only. Like, they're just running 1/3 of the time, essentially.
Right.
I feel like that's been the major issue. They had 2 winnable games. If you look at it on paper going into the season, you had easy division matchups. They couldn't get a win out of the Houston game, and then they get spanked by the Jaguars. I, for one, am going to give the Colts a pass for what they went through last week. Shaq Leonard hasn't been back yet. That's huge. He changes that whole defense. Their defense is a shell of what they were last year. Shaq Leonard forces 4 fumbles a game, and that's
he really does.
And really, like,
I wish we were exaggerating.
I think the offense and the defense feed off each other with Indianapolis more so than any team because they rely so heavily on the run and ball control. And no Shaq Leonard.
Darius Leonard?
It's Shaq.
Oh, he changed it. That's right.
He changed his name,
Which
but they
is
really
perfect.
need him back in a desperate, big way. As far as the flip side of things, the Chiefs haven't stopped.
They're on a roll. They're on an absolute tear.
We've talked about them a little bit. I'm a little bit wary of
Those are the
going
best
after
words.
any of the pass catchers not named Travis Kelce. I'm kind of in on Juju, but I'm kind of waiting and monitoring that situation. He had good usage in the first half, and then it dropped off the face of the earth.
Just to give you an update, Kelce leads the team in targets, which that's the obvious. But coming in second is one Juju and your old friend, Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah,
So,
big play threat, but again,
and right after that is Mecole Hardman.
Not a guy that I expect to get much volume. Very much so like Mecole Hardman.
He's been a boomer bust guy his entire career.
It's gonna be
big time player.
It's gonna be Kelce. It's gonna be splash plays here or there, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire is gonna be the guy that gets the ball on first and second down if they're running. My concern or my interest lies in which of these 2 backs out of the Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco are going to maybe create a little separation between the 2 of them. They've used them both equally in week 1 and 2 but not equally in each game. In other words,
Yeah, because you just said Clyde Edwards-Helaire right now has 15 attempts on the year, and Pacheco has 14.
Pacheco,
how
was
much did they pass?
Pacheco was the guy that they went to often in week 1, and then week 2 it was Jerick McKinnon that kind of took over. So I would like to see
8 carries on his.
I would like
career,
to see something get established as to who's going to be that guy, so we could get a little more clarity. Because I feel like that's where you could, if you could get a guy on Kansas City in the bargain basement, either a Pacheco or a McKinnon, week to week, you could get some really splash plays. But I'm not sure that's the strategy I'm going with. I'm more of a long-term guy.
All right. That's going to be an interesting game. Like I said, Colts got to have it. It's got to have it. We'll move on to a very intriguing offense as of late. The last 2 weeks, at least, they're putting 30-plus a week, and that's the Lions and the Vikings. We're talking about the Detroit Lions here. The Detroit Lions have absolutely played way over expectations as of right now. We knew they were going to be scrappy. Listen, I'm a Hard Knocks guy. I watched all summer. I think this team was going to start biting kneecaps way before they started actually doing it. But in this game, in regards to a guy I went heavy on, Chris, and you can agree or disagree, but I went nuts on the price for Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's sitting under $15. He's not up in your 20s like most of the elite receivers, but this kid is a superstar in the making, if not already. DeAndre Swift is obviously the bell cow over there. Not a lot of TJ Hawkinson yet, but when you look at the Vikings flip side of this, it's the who's who. Justin Jefferson, you know what you're going to get. He is the top guy in the market right now, as opposed as according to Ocho Cinco. He said it yesterday on the Mojo social medias that Justin Jefferson, justifiably so, is probably the most expensive receiver to get in on right now because, well,
I don't think he is the most expensive. I think what he's trying to say is he should be, but
he should be number one. All right.
Yeah,
well,
because I think that he's too young in his career. There's been some guys that have some really good.
That's true. But in any event,
stats.
Yeah, in any event, he's the guy to invest in on the Vikings. If you're going to invest in anybody, get involved with Justin Jefferson. But back to St. Brown. This kid's a superstar, right? I mean, there's no questions asked there.
No, there's no questions asked. I mean, he's about to be a superstar. He plays in Detroit. He's had about 10 really good games in a row. If you look at his numbers, it's Cooper Kupp. Through 8 games, he has like 960 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 68 catches. So if you did that over a full 17-game season, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to challenge some records. I don't know if that's going to hold up throughout the year. It is Jared Goff. It is a run-first offense. And speaking of run-first offenses, the guy that I'm most intrigued by going into this matchup is DeAndre Swift. The Vikings have been giving up chunk yards weeks 1 and 2. A negative game script for Green Bay in week 1, and they were still able to rip off chunk yardage. The running game was the only thing that kept us even remotely close to in it, which we weren't in it. And I say we, I'm a Packer fan. The Minnesota Vikings last week could not stop the run. Detroit, Dan Campbell's got to be licking his chops right now looking at that porous run defense on Minnesota. And because of the respect that Amon-Ra St. Brown is now going to command, because believe me, coordinators are fully aware of what he's been doing, it's going to open things up in the run game, and Minnesota just can't stop the run. I think this is DeAndre Swift's breakout right here.
Oh, get him now. And just to clarify, via the old app ski here, Justin Jefferson is behind the following: DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, and Tyreek Hill. All those guys well established. So within a year, maybe 2, I'd say Justin Jefferson will be top dog.
Yeah. On the flip side of things, though, for the Minnesota Vikings, same kind of deal. I mean, the Lions defense has played well, but week 2 was kind of an anomaly. They had an offense that they were playing against that really just didn't do well in Washington. So week 1 against Philly is a better indicator as to how this Lions defense is going to respond to the Vikings. I feel like Philly and Minnesota were almost on a similar trajectory going into this year, where there was raised expectations, but there's a little bit of question marks surrounding the quarterback. They've gotten a little yin and yang out of both of these teams. Philly looks really good, but Minnesota, they struggled bad last week. Dalvin Cook only had 6 carries.
Yeah, I gotta listen. I'm not a Nostradamus or anything like that, or Nostradamus, but I will say I got a feeling that the Vikings bounce back in a big way this week as far as offensively. I'm not even saying they win the game. I'm just saying they put up the offensive numbers. You might want to look into guys like Irv Smith Jr. He's found the end zone already. You might even want to find some stock in Adam Thielen, another guy that's kind of off people's radars because everybody and their mothers are talking about Justin Jefferson, even Osborne's and even all the Rager talk. Thielen is falling off the favor.
The reason why I worry about Thielen in regards to the Mojo market is because he's in a walk year, and it looks to me like they have some young up-and-coming receivers. And while there is that connection to the Vikings and Minnesota in general with Thielen, at the end of the day, if there's somebody willing to pay him a little bit more, he's probably going to walk. I think that the only way he stays in Minnesota is with a restructure, or if he takes a lesser deal. Not a restructure. He's in his actual walk year, so they're not going to restructure anything. I think Thielen in another situation, you might get a big drop off, and because of that, going forward long term, you might want to make a week-to-week play on Thielen. But I feel like he's amassed a decent career. But I don't know how much more it projects going forward. He's getting a little older. It seems to me like there's like 7 or 8 really good receivers that come into the league every year. So Thielen's one of the guys
as that happens, he just
I look at as like, okay, which one of these top 30 perennial receivers are going to get bumped by the Amon-Ra St. Browns, by the Jameson Williams that's coming back soon? Guys like that, really, they take the place. Thielen, he's the guy that I look at as maybe on a way out a little bit while he has talent now, maybe a little bit overvalued.
So you remember that time I said maybe to look into Adam Thielen? Don't. just don't. All right?
I had to
forget everything I said.
I had to fight back a little bit on that one.
Yeah, well, that's fine. All right, final game that we're going to be talking about is obviously one of the bigger, more intriguing games of the week, and it's the Jaguars and the Chargers. Reason I say this is because obviously Justin Herbert coming off the injury, he's got the rib thing going on, right? And everybody, I'm not so worried about it. I think he's going to be fine as far as this game's concerned. When you look at the market, the people are who they are, but look at the differential, though, in a Justin Herbert and a Trevor Lawrence. It's just incredible to me. And both of these guys are going to be good players in the league. Your obvious ones, maybe not so obvious. Like Travis Etienne, he hasn't really, done much. And it's the James Robinson show all of a sudden. He's back on the field. He's healthy, so he's playing a lot. You know what I mean? So when you look at this game on the surface, as far as the players that you should be watching for, there are the who's who and the obvious ones, like your Justin Herberts. I know you were big
Stairway to Heaven, baby.
Yes,
how could you not? If you look at, I wish we actually made the graphic for this one. Maybe we could. I'll post. It's actually on my Twitter. Go look at my Twitter at Chris Gueci, Gueci, and look at the tweets. And it's the Stairway to Heaven. If you look at the beginning of Justin Herbert's career, right? It's like a little bit flat, and then it's like stare, and then off season flat, and then stare.
All right.
So it's the Stairway to Heaven. If you get 15 of those steps, baby, you're into money right now. Justin Herbert's my crown jewel of Mojo.
Really?
The crown jewel of Mojo right now is Justin Herbert.
Over a guy like Josh Allen?
Yeah.
Over a guy like Patrick Mahomes?
He's already higher than Josh Allen. He already has a higher share price. And Mahomes is the other crown jewel. Fine. All right. He's like 20. Mahomes seems to be getting younger. Somehow Mahomes is like 22 now.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, dude, how are you younger now than you were when you won the Super Bowl?
Right, exactly. But back to this game. It's intriguing because of the fact that we're going to find out a little bit more about this Jaguars team. Can they move the ball? Can they sustain offensive drives against a decent defense in I almost said San Diego, Los Angeles? I think that the Chargers are that team, the darlings this year. I truly believe it. Their offensive weapons are incredible. They might be getting Keenan Allen back, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. I haven't checked the latest injury report.
It looks like he's going to go.
Yeah, so you get those guys back, plus our favorite player in this whole thing, which is single-digit Gerald Everett. You know what I mean? Like, that offense is going to boom, and it's going to click. So it's up to the Jaguars to go punch for punch with them. Can Trevor Lawrence go punch for punch with a guy like Justin Herbert?
No, he can't.
Interesting.
And it's not because Justin Herbert's like that much more talented than Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence was pegged as the most talented quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck.
Right.
You can name all those guys. Something about Trevor Lawrence, he doesn't move the needle for me even
it's the
a
face
shred.
Mask.
It's not just the face mask. I watched the thing where he was doing it was prior to week one. They're in the tunnel and it's Trevor Lawrence turns and he's like, all right, guys, play with some swag.
Fun.
Go play with some swag. And he said it just like that. I was like, I don't know. It's just not. He doesn't play with enough energy or fire for me. I'm not saying you need to have that.
But
he's a good player.
He could be Joe Cool. You know what I mean? He could just.
I don't know, man. It's just something about it. It poured a lot of cold water on my Trevor Lawrence expectations. I don't know, call it just a hunch. But it's also, not to mention, I know it was rookie season and it was the Urban Meyer debacle, but they were the worst offense in football last year.
I think Dougie P is going to right that ship over there.
Doug Peterson,
I truly think that.
He's not here for stats. We'll say that about Doug Peterson.
That's
right? So
very true.
Be wary of any pass catchers not named Christian Kirk. And to touch on your point about Travis Etienne, such a rough start to his career. First round pick, so the expectations were high. He had like a high share price right out of the gate, and then the injury happens, and then it's down. And then you expect, okay, it's his year
He's
two.
back. Here we go.
Year two, could we see one of those like Impromptu rookie of the year 2 guys, because he didn't get to play last year. And right out of the gate, he's just not. He dropped a touchdown in week 1. And I was like, all right, I'm still in on him because the usage was there. But the drop touchdown still is a bad thing. And as you drop touchdowns and you lose confidence in your coaching staff, I know Doug Peterson's big on that type of shit.
Yeah, of course.
Doghouse is a thing in Jacksonville right now. So I'm not saying he's in his doghouse, but if you're not Christian Kirk, I'm not in on you if you're a Jaguar. And I'm not in on him either.
Okay.
It's just that I feel like he's going to be the one guy that does see a steady increase. There is no guarantees on Trevor Lawrence just because he's the first pick.
Got it. So there are your most intriguing matchups of the Sunday slate. We already got some football last night. We'll be diving in on Sunday. Be sure to check back with us on Monday morning right here on this channel that you're watching us right now, because obviously a full slate of football is about to happen. And let me tell you something right now. The market moves so much that I thought I was done with prep, like at around like 10:50. I was like, it's just going to be a couple Neils, couple this, couple that. This market moves, guys. So be sure to keep tabs on that app because things are moving literally by the second. So enjoy the football this week. We'll be back on Monday to talk a little Cowboys Giants because I'm excited about it. Cooper Rush, future Hall of Famer, Cooper Rush, that is, according to Jerry Jones. But we'll be back to wrap up the entire week 3 slate. Can't believe it's week 3 already. So for Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. We'll see you back here on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Short Zeke.
That's Monday.